Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 2:14. Without any delay, start explanation. Luo Xiaofeng smiled. His expression seemed much kinder now. All of you are my junior brothers and sisters then. I'm from Shrek as well, and I was once an inner court disciple. The man that you just encountered is Shun Fang, and they call him Hell's Ghost Vermin. He is a high-ranking member of the Holy Spirit cult, and his ultimate Yin Qi is extremely troublesome. I've been pursuing him for a long time, so I came at once when I finally sensed his aura. Holy Spirit cult? Tang Wulin asked in confusion. Luo Xiaofeng explained, this is a mysterious sect that has existed for an unknown number of years. More precisely, it is a sect that is involved in criminal and evil activities of all kinds. All of its members are evil soul masters, and it regards the task of cultivating evil soul masters as its responsibility. They enjoy killing, destroying, and seeking special energies capable of elevating themselves from their crimes. The Holy Spirit cult caused a serious catastrophe to mankind more than 10,000 years ago. Afterward, the Holy Ice Dolor led the first generation of champions to vanquish them until they finally vanished from the scene. They still appeared occasionally in the following 10,000 years, but fortunately, they didn't cause as much trouble. However, in the last few years, terrorist attacks by the Holy Spirit cult have been occurring more frequently. Whenever they are involved, it's always a great calamity that brings misery and suffering to the people. It was fortunate indeed that all of you happened to be here today. Otherwise, I'm afraid no one would have survived the train crash. More than that, their spirits would have been extracted by the evil soul masters to refine for their devilry. Tang Wulin looked at Luo Xiaofeng in astonishment. A sect for evil soul masters? This was his first time he heard of this, but definitely not his first encounter with them. There was no doubt that the evil soul master he confronted on the train with Mo Lan back at the beginning would have been a part of the Holy Spirit cult. Luo Xiaofeng saw that Tang Wulin was quiet, so he continued talking. The Holy Spirit cult is brutal and will pursue its endeavors to the end. It's also extremely cunning. After learning from their previous downfall, they have been more cautious and secretive. Don't be reckless and confront them if you chance upon them in the future. Stay away and do not engage with them if possible. Now that the Federation has invested a large amount of manpower in the search for them and even engaged in a few battles, the evil soul masters have been less active recently. I didn't expect them to create such a disaster. They are truly despicable. Tang Wulin asked, so it's true that there's no way to locate them? How powerful is the Holy Spirit cult actually? Luo Xiaofeng shook his head and spoke in a deep voice, I don't know. No one knows how powerful the Holy Spirit cult truly is. However, you should know that there are 3 factions targeting them. They are the Federation's War God Hall, the Spirit Pagoda, and Shrek Academy. Tang Wulin was shaken to the core. Luo Xiaofeng continued to speak, those evil soul masters are all madmen. They will stop at nothing to achieve their goals. If it was not for their lack of ability to fight us, they would have emerged to create havoc sooner. Tang Wulin asked, so what's War God Hall anyway? This is my first time I've heard that name. Perhaps it was due to their mutual origin. Luo Xiaofeng did not seem to grow impatient with Tang Wulin's inquiries. The War God Hall is a high-end combat force cultivated by the Federation. It's normal to have only heard of it in passing. All the War God Hall's members receive the Federation's resources to continue to elevate ourselves. When the Federation encounters danger, the War God Hall's members will be assigned. Of course, we have a high level of freedom. Moreover, we belong to the military, and as such we all bear military ranks. By the way, all of you are already 1-word battle armor masters now and can graduate from the inner court when you've become 2-word battle armor masters in the future. We would gladly welcome you into the War God Hall if you're interested. Tang Wulin asked in astonishment, Senior, there are a lot of people in the War God Hall from our academy. Luo Xiaofeng smiled. I'm not permitted to go into the specifics, but I can tell you that the Academy's ability to receive so much respect and support from the Federation is very much related to the Academy's neutrality and harmony with the rest of the world. On the other hand, those who graduate from the Academy will need a place to go anyhow, especially our inner court disciples. War God Hall is a rather good choice, so please do consider it. Sure. Thanks, Senior. However, Senior, we've already joined the Tang sect, so can we still join War God Hall? Luo Xiaofeng was stunned for a moment. Join the Tang sect, huh? If you're not with Battle Soul Hall, then it should be fine. However, if all of you have already joined the Tang sect's Battle Soul Hall, then it's best to remain there. Battle Soul Hall's treatment is pretty good. The Tang sect doesn't publicize its doings, but it's powerful and has a close relationship with the Academy. It's also a pretty good choice. Oh, I heard that there's a new generation of Shrek 7 monsters at the Academy. Tang Wulin scratched his head and nodded shyly. He was feeling rather embarrassed to admit it, seeing as how they were soundly beaten by the evil soul master earlier. Luo Xiaofeng was an excellent judge. Don't tell me that it's the few of you, Tang Wulin gave a forced smile. We've disgraced the Academy. No, no, no. Luo Xiaofeng waved his hand repeatedly and even descended from the sky. He sized Tang Wulin up and down before he said, "It seems like all of you can't possibly join War God Hall." Tang Wulin was stunned. Luo Xiaofeng continued speaking, "The Shrek 7 monsters are the future of the Academy, so they can't possibly be controlled by the Federation. I truly didn't expect that I'd meet all of you so soon. Don't think that you disgraced the Academy. On the contrary, you can ask the passengers, and they'll say that all of you are heroes. Did you know that? If not for all of you, hundreds more lives could have been lost here. All of you have rendered outstanding service today, so you didn't disgrace the Academy. I took a glance and saw that quite a lot of evil soul masters were killed, and you even encountered Shen Fang. Fortunately, he should have no idea that all of you are the current generation's Shrek 7 monsters. Otherwise, I'm afraid he would kill all of you at any cost. Junior, remember not to tell people that all of you are the current generation's Shrek 7 monsters before you're powerful enough. The Academy has many friends but also many enemies. And those that dare to oppose our Academy are all top-grade powerhouses. So where are all of you heading to? I'll give you a ride later to ensure your safety." Tang Wulin could not help feeling a warm glow in his heart upon seeing Luo Xiaofeng's solemn look. He deserved to be called their senior. "We're heading for military training, but we have yet to understand the specific situation." Military training? Luo Xiaofeng shuddered upon hearing these two words. His gaze as he looked at Tang Wulin became peculiar with a sense of sympathy in his eyes. "Then I can't send you there. You must depend on yourself for the military training." Junior brother, Luo Xiaofeng was about to say something, but in the end, he kept silent. Instead, he raised his hand to pat Tang Wulin's shoulder. "Be careful, and all the best." Tang Wulin frowned. It seemed like this senior had taken part in the military training before. Moreover, the training managed to leave quite a profound impression on him. It was not a good impression. The rescue work ended very soon. The severely injured casualties would be transferred to the nearby cities while the damaged train and rails would need repair. These were not Tang Wulin and his companions' concern. Tang Wulin and the group concealed their identities with Luo Xiaofeng's assistance. They were not interrogated by the government. They boarded a flying mecha used for transportation, which took them to the closest city. The best word to describe that night would be soul-stirring. It was not a pleasant experience being on the edge of death. "I'll never use the soul train ever again," Tang Wulin said resolutely. "Everyone should rest soon." About Zhengyu. Yu Zhengyu was still unconscious. His face was ghastly pale. "I'll take care of him," Xu Xiaoyan spoke without the slightest hesitation. Tang Wulin felt relieved. "Great. Everyone should rest earlier. We'll resume our journey when Yu Jingyu has recovered." "Okay." The group returned to their rooms. Tang Wulin sent Yu Jingyu to his room before leaving. Xu Xiaoyan helped Yu Jingyu to remove his clothes and wipe down his body with a towel before covering him with a blanket. She pulled up a chair and sat by his bed to watch over him. Yu Jingyu remained handsome as ever when he was quiet. He was just as good-looking despite appearing a little sickly and pale. Unknowingly, the vision before Xu Xiaoyan's eyes blurred. Her tears dropped down with a splutter. I've always called you out for being arrogant and that you consider yourself superior. In fact, am I not as arrogant in my heart as well? You're right. I truly feel inferior because our families' backgrounds are so different. You're outstanding and the center of many females' attention. I'm truly scared that you won't love me as much in the future as time goes by. During the Sea God Lake Date Festival, when you uttered those words to me domineeringly, I felt like I was treated as an item and I hated being treated as such. 6 months. You turned your back on me for a whole 6 months. Do you know that I regretted after returning from the date festival? Even though I didn't regret rejecting you, I shouldn't have put you in a spot in front of so many people. However, I regret it even more now. I shouldn't have rejected you. It's me who is not confident in you. I'm sorry, Jinyu. It's my fault for being selfish. Please get well soon, okay? I won't be stubborn anymore in the future. Xu Xiaoyan caressed Yu Jinyu's forehead as she was saying that. No. I like your stubbornness. I like you just the way you are, a gentle voice echoed. Yu Jinyu slowly opened his eyes. Xu Xiaoyan was startled. She was about to pull back her hand when Yu Jinyu grabbed her wrist. Don't leave me. I've had enough for the past 6 months. Xu Xiaoyan's charming face was blushing when he grabbed her wrist. Since when did you wake up? Yu Jinyu smiled. When you were confessing. Xu Xiaoyan's charming face was scarlet. She immediately wanted to run away, but Yu Jinyu held tightly onto her. Now, can you please listen to my confession? Yu Jinyu spoke softly. Xu Xiaoyan was slightly stunned as she looked up at him. Yu Jinyu looked into her eyes. I'm sorry, Xiaoyan. It's my fault. You're right that I'm too proud and arrogant. It's a bad trait of mine ever since I was young. In fact, everyone from my family has this bad trait. I wasn't considerate of your feelings. I was too anxious during the Sea God Lake Date Festival. I was only thinking of making you my girlfriend officially, so I neglected your feelings at the time. However, it's true that I'm not doing this for charity, and I could care less about your family background. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing to you sincerely, and I'll promise you that I'll change. I'll change for the better. I respect you, love you, and will protect you. Please forgive me, won't you? Xu Xiaoyan watched him in a daze. She muttered to herself after a long while, fool. Yu Jinyu sat up. He was much better after he awoke, apart from feeling slightly weak. Yes, I'm a fool. I still couldn't control that ludicrous arrogance of mine when I was throwing tantrums at you today. Do you know that when you were controlled by the evil soul master's powerful soul skill, as I watched helplessly when you were about to die, I suddenly felt that I was the most foolish person in the world? If you had died just like that, I'm afraid I won't be able to live either. It's true, believe me when I say that I'll risk my life to avenge your death. Xu Xiaoyan lowered her head. How can I not believe you? You used sacrifice for me. You burned your vitality for me. Yu Jinyu was stunned for a moment. You knew? Xu Xiaoyan nodded. Yet you never told me that you have such an ability. Yu Jinyu smiled. Do you know where the arrogance of our clan comes from? Our elegance is not derived from our bloodline but from our spirit of self-sacrifice. We are willing to sacrifice ourselves in order to protect our companions. Thus, Holy Angel clan members are not allowed to tell their friends that they possess such ability. We are only allowed to use this ability to protect our companions whenever the need arises. Xu Xiaoyan suddenly raised her head and wailed bitterly as she wrapped her arms around Yu Jinyu. 10 years, that's 10 years of your life. Yu Jinyu hugged her as he smiled and spoke, what's 10 years of my life compared to being able to protect you? As long as you're willing to be by my side, I'll be happy even if I live 10 years less. My days without you were dark, but now, you're back. You're not leaving me again, you? Xu Xiaoyan muttered, from the moment you used sacrifice for me, I'm yours. I'll never leave again regardless of how you treat me in the future, no matter if you're arrogant or not, no matter how inferior I feel. You sacrifice yourself for me, I'll share my future together with you. The greatest benefit of being young is swift recovery. After a full night's rest, all the Shrek 7 monsters were full of spirit and energy by early morning, except for Yu Jingyu, who was still slightly pale. Big brother, so how do we get there? By the way, it feels good to see you eat like this again. Xie smiled as he said that. Everyone was cultivating on their own when they were in inner court. They did not spend much time with each other anymore, especially Tang Wulin. He was living a closed-door cultivation lifestyle. It had been a long time since he trained with his comrades. Tang Wulin spoke, "We don't have any other choice except to take the Soul car if we don't take the Soul Express train." Yu Jingyu spoke, "It'd be nice if we have mechas." Yuan and Yehui spoke, "Stop joking around. Mecha? You're not allowed to fly within the Federation's airspace even if you have a mecha unless you have the Federation's special pass. That is utterly impossible. Every region in the Federation has its own specialized pass. Only certain departments or the military are qualified to pilot the mecha to any place." Xu Xiaoyan spoke, "Jingyu's just kidding anyway." "Car it is then." The group of people shifted their gaze at once, with their attention all focusing on Xu Xiaoyan. Xu Xiaoyan spoke with slight discomfort, "Why is everyone looking at me?" Xie asked out of curiosity, "So both of you are good now?" Yu Jingyu glared at him. "Since when were we not good? It was only a little misunderstanding between us." "Exactly." Xu Xiaoyan immediately chimed in. Xie pouted his lips. "Both of you have won then." Xu Xiaoyan wrapped her arms around Yu Jingyu's arm with happiness beaming on her face. "I heard that Tang sect has heaven and earth treasures that prolong one's life. Jingyu and I will be going on such a mission when our military training ends." Tang Wulin smiled. "Not only the both of you but everyone should go. We're a team." Yi Xinglan, who had not uttered a word, finally spoke, "Captain, do you have a plan? I mean for all of us here." Tang Wulin answered, "I'd learned a lot of useful information from the War God Hall Senior yesterday. For starters, we know about the existence of War God Hall and some unspoken rules of the continent. The War God Hall is the Federation's exclusive combat force where the powerhouses are gathered. Spirit Pagoda has its own similar organization, just like Tang Sect's Battle Soul Hall and Worship Hall. The Academy has Inner Court and Sea God Pavilion. These are all the top combat forces on the continent. As the new generation of Shrek 7 monsters, I'm almost certain that we'll be the Academy's representatives. In other words, we won't be allowed to join Spirit Pagoda or War God Hall. However, we belong to Tang Sect that has a close relationship to the Academy. Hence, I think that will be the extent of our scope until we have achieved a certain level of cultivation base. After our military training has ended, provided we've completed 2 years of military training as mentioned by Elder Cai, our powers should be elevated to a whole new level. Some of us should already have broken through to rank 60 and become Soul Emperors. Then, in the following 2 years we should be completing our battle armor's upgrade as soon as possible. We're only considered capable of protecting ourselves after becoming 2-word battle armor masters. A 2-word battle armor has wings, so it won't affect us even if we don't have a mecha. The Federation's radar can restrict mechas but not our wings." At this moment, Tang Wulin paused for a while. Then, he lowered his head ever so slightly. "I would like to apologize to everyone because I've been cultivating by myself ever since my return here. I rarely spend time training together with you all. As a result, I've become less familiar with everyone's fighting method and fail to work well with everyone. Otherwise, yesterday's situation wouldn't have been that bad." The group of them stood staring at one another. Xu Lixi sighed softly. "Actually, you can't be blamed because all of us rarely train with each other. We're studying under different teachers after we entered the inner court to elevate ourselves, so we have fewer opportunities to practice together compared to before. Our cooperation has not gotten much better, especially after everyone became 1-word battle armor masters. We should genuinely improve on this area." Tang Wulin nodded. "That's right. Our cooperation now is from our time together years ago. It's still the same level as 4 years past. Maybe even less than that. Really, We're not that familiar with each other's new skills, and that's not all right. We're the Shrek 7 monsters, and we're a team. Our overall combat capability must be elevated, by many times in fact. Thus, we must increase our joint practice during the military training to increase our cooperation. Yi Xinglan nodded and spoke, I agree. The group nodded in succession. Tang Wulin said, very well. Let's depart now. We need to get a car as soon as possible. Elder CAI emphasized about the time usage, so our time is certainly not unlimited. Moreover, we could have an unexpected incident like yesterday. The money Mu Chen paid Tang Wulin was not enough to buy a car, but they could still rent one. They rented a car in the current city and returned it to the local branch office when they arrived. Everyone was skilled in driving, so it was not a big issue for them. A 7-seater car was exactly what they needed. It was not luxurious, but it was quite comfortable for them. Xie Xie was tasked with driving while Tang Wulin checked the map, and the rest of them were seated in the back. Xu Xiaoyan and Yu Jingyu were still furious at each other, but they were inseparable on this day. She did not sleep well the previous night, so she fell asleep in Yu Jingyu's arms very quickly during the stable car ride. At our current speed, we'll need another 4 days before we can arrive at the destination if we were to drive more than 10 hours a day. The Seoul Express train speed is still faster. Tang Wulin looked at the map as he frowned ever so slightly. Forget about it. What if we get into another accident? You can't estimate time like this. Big brother, you're just not destined to catch a Seoul train, Xie Xie smiled as he spoke. The following journey was considerably uneventful in the end. At least, there was no other odd incident like encountering evil Seoul masters. For days later, they arrived at the continent's northeast coastal city, North Sea City. The temperature was obviously much lower as they traveled all the way from the northeast after so many. Even though the change of temperature did not affect them with their cultivation bases, the weather still felt cold after they spent some time there. We're finally here. The car entered North Sea City, and they returned it, first thing. The entire group appeared slightly lethargic. They had driven for more than 10 hours a day. It was not considered a physical burden, but it was highly taxing mentally. Tang Wulin spoke, we can't stop yet. I keep having this premonition that it'll be very troublesome later. Let me ask around on how we can go by sea to our destination. According to Elder CAI's instruction, the location of their military training would be on an island about 30 kilometers away from North Sea City. They would certainly need a boat to reach the island from where they were right now. The rental car profession is part of the transportation industry, so perhaps they'll know where to go to rent a boat. Xie Xie pointed to the car rental office they had just walked out of. Tang Wulin answered, possibly. Xie Xie spoke, I'll ask. A moment later, Xie Xie's expression appeared slightly unpleasant when he walked out of the car rental office once again. Big brother, your judgment is correct. It's not an easy task to arrive at that nameless island. You know what the car rental office's staff said? Xie Xie had a speechless expression on his face. Tang Wulin spoke, what happened? Xie Xie answered, he looked as if he had seen a ghost when he heard that we were heading to the sea. He asked if we are seeking our own doom. Moreover, they said that there isn't a pier in North Sea City. Not even a basic one. This is because not only are there mighty waves but also a large amount of sea soul beasts that thrive inside North Sea City's waters. It's described as a prohibited area of life, in their words. I knew it. Tang Wulin was rendered speechless. Can't even travel on a larger ship? Yu Jingyu asked. Xie Xie spoke, a larger ship? You think too much. Only Sky Sea City and East Sea City have piers where large ships can dock on the northeast part of the continent. How far is this place from those two cities? How long will it take to travel back and forth? Moreover, is it possible for us to move a large ship through the waters filled with a dense sea soul beast population? Tang Wulin shrugged and spoke, it seems like this will be the first trouble we're about to face. I think it's considered the trial before military training. Yuan and Yehui spoke, let's take a look at the seaside first. Seeing is believing. We shall take a look at how powerful the sea soul beasts are first and find out whether we are capable of facing them or not. Go? Tang Wulin waved his hand as the group boarded a rental car and headed straight for North Sea City's eastern seashore. They found their way blocked by a barrier about 5 kilometers away from the seashore. All sorts of heavy soul weapons densely covered the barrier, be it a dam or a wall, that stood hundreds of meters wide. The group could not help staring in bewilderment upon seeing it. Although they had yet to see the sea, they could tell from this wall built to defend against sea soul beasts that the world ruled by the waters outside was quite terrifying. Which one of you recognizes the soul device up there? Tang Wulin muttered. He was genuinely not that well versed when it came to soul devices. He was only equipped with some basic knowledge. Xie gave a forced smile as he spoke. I don't know too much about soul devices, but take a look at the area below the wall. That should be the Super Soul Power Battery circuit. There's no need for me to give more of an explanation as to its function, right? It was no joke that there were at least 3 spots below the wall with buildings displaying warning signs of extreme danger following the direction of Xie's finger. He could easily identify the state of the buildings and the labels displayed. The Super Soul Power Battery circuit was a form of super battery with an extremely complex structure built with a soul array at its core. It was capable of providing a tremendous amount of energy. Generally, it was required for the use of powerful soul devices such as a large-scale military-grade soul protective shield that was different from the Academy. Moreover, there were also some super soul cannons that used it as their foundation. Never mind attempting to cross the sea, it would be an extremely difficult task for them to even leave the city now. This isn't a gold road. It's a death road. Xu Lixi gave a bitter smile and spoke. Tang Wulin immediately regained his composure after his momentary shock. Come, let's go back first. Of course, he could not bring along his companions and acted rashly as the captain of the squadron. They returned to the city where Tang Wulin first found a small hotel and checked into a hotel, then he spread out the map newly bought from North Sea City earlier on the table. Everyone look. The red sector should be the guarded wall sector. This is a coastline that extends 50 kilometers with a portion of it made of a large reef. The areas that aren't blocked by reefs are all covered by the wall. Everywhere is equipped with defense devices. It's very apparent that their monitoring radar is the most advanced here. It's almost impossible for us to sneak past the place, and we can't fight our way there anyhow. The waters outside were all labeled with skulls on the map. There was no need for words to describe what that signified. On the other hand, the map given by Elder Cai did not show these labels but only a small island and a linear journey from North Sea City. The so-called Gold Road should be the distance from North Sea City to the island. We can't dash our way over, so there's only one way, which is to take a detour. We will still need to take a look at the seaside anyhow. Moreover, we don't even have a coordinate yet. We only know that there's a small island 30 kilometers from the linear direction of North Sea City. Yuan and Yehue spoke. It's going to be a detour. There's North Sea Army Corps from the North Sea City stationed at the seashore. It seems like it's defending the sea and its soul beasts. I don't know where we can take a detour. Moreover, the seashore is monitored by the military radar, so we can only head over to the island. However, there are no coordinates, so looking for an island is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Tang Wulin squinted his eyes. It's impossible for us to go via land. Neither is it feasible below ground. Looks like we'll need to fly. The sky? The group of people was all stunned. Tang Wulin explained, the development of soul airplanes are quite advanced these days. Although the public is restricted from using the planes, the military is equipped with a large number of the planes. Since there's no way for us to use the land or sea, we can perhaps fly if we can get ourselves a soul airplane. 30 kilometers is a short distance to travel by air. It won't take long even if we were to paraglide there. Xie could not help speaking. Big brother, you're a courageous soul. That's a soul airplane, you see. It's strictly monitored by the military, which the public has never been allowed to use. Could it be that you know where we can rent an airplane? Tang Wulin answered, it's impossible for us to rent one for sure, but we can borrow one. Xie and Yuan and Yehui took a glance at each other as they spoke in unison, from the North Sea Army Corps. The North Sea Army Corps was the main army force in the northeast region. They would certainly be equipped with Sol airplanes. There was no conflict in the usage between the Sol airplanes and the mechas during actual combat. The materials and resources used to produce a mecha of the same capability were enough to produce 10 Sol airplanes. The airplane's flying speed was even faster than the mecha. Furthermore, the airplane was capable of transporting more people and fixed Sol ammunition. Research on the Sol airplane began over a century ago. It was the Federation's indispensable armament at present after much development. The main army force had its special flying unit that corresponded to the mecha unit. The most advanced Sol airplane was capable of flying non-stop to Star Luo continent from Doluo continent. Doluo continent's technological advancement was ahead of the other two continents by far. However, the Federation did not have any intention to start a war now. There was no doubt that borrowing an airplane would be the fastest method. However, the problem was that no one was capable of flying it. Even if we did manage to sneak in, how are we going to fly the airplane? On top of that, to fly it to the island before the military finds out and hunt us down. Yu Jingyu asked. Tang Wulin spoke, this act requires a well-organized plan. Although I don't have much knowledge of Sol devices, I know quite a lot about Sol airplanes or Sol flight vehicles. We can't fly it, but since we're borrowing, we might as well borrow the pilot too. An Army Corps long-range attacking ability is capable of covering a range of 300 kilometers. We'll just borrow the airplane and pilot, which they'll then need to confirm in order to avoid killing their own people. If we are within their controlled firing range, then they have no fear of us escaping from them, right? The group of people nodded in succession. Tang Wulin spoke, we will be within the range of 300 kilometers at all times. It'll be enough for us to travel 30 kilometers. 30 kilometers is a stone's throw away for a battle airplane. We can then perform an airborne landing and return the borrowed airplane and pilot. Naturally, we won't be attacked by the North Sea Army Corps, so we can arrive at our destination safely. At this point, Tang Wulin suddenly noticed his surroundings was especially quiet. The group of people watched him with a confused look. Shu Lixi muttered to himself, Big brother, what the hell is airborne landing? Tang Wulin shrugged. It means to descend from the sky. We have Zhengyu and Yuan's martial souls capable of flying. We'll descend from the sky once we've arrived at our targeted spot and rely on their flying ability to enable us to glide to the island. Even if they fail, at least they can reduce the speed of us falling. It'll be fine as long as we don't crash onto the ground, since we've our one-word battle armor and our own defense for protection. It shouldn't be a problem for us if we were to fall into the sea either. Xie swallowed a gulp of saliva. Big brother, you're a courageous soul. This is the first time I realize your imagination can be unrestrained. Still, the plan is a little dangerous, isn't it? Tang Wulin spoke, indeed. There are risks for sure. Firstly, whether we can sneak into the North Sea Army Corps camp and find ourselves a pilot to fly the airplane. Secondly, not to be hit before we arrive at the island. Thirdly, to be able to defeat the sea soul beasts upon landing in the sea and making our way to the island. If we fail to do step 1, then the risk is relatively low and our lives are not at stake. If we fail at step 2, that is the North Sea Army Corps launches an attack at us, we can abandon the airplane and land into the sea. The risk then comes mainly from the sea soul beasts. Thus, the further the airplane flies, the closer we are to the island and the lower will be the risk. The final point will be us against the sea soul beasts. My bloodline aura has a certain amount of suppression to inhibit the soul beasts. I think that we should be able to make our way to the island provided it's within a certain distance. Unless we happen to be so unfortunate that we encounter a 100,000-year soul beast, we should be alright. Zhengyu, Yuan, can your flying abilities carry the 5 of us to our destination? Yu Jingyu spoke, I suppose. If we were to devote all our efforts with our current cultivation base, we should be able to carry everyone for a short period of time. However, there's always an uncertainty due to the high-altitude winds. Tang Wulin looked toward Shu Lixi. How much of our weight can your agility soup buns reduce? Shu Lixi spoke without the slightest hesitation. 30% should be doable. Yuan and Yehui spoke. It seems like it's feasible. What's the height of the airborne landing you're planning to perform? Tang Wulin answered, naturally, the lower it is the better. The time used for landing can be reduced because we'll still need to consider the long-range attack from the North Sea Army Corps base. The shorter the time we spend on landing, the less possibility of us being attacked. Yi Xinglan spoke, all right. This sounds good, but there's only one big issue. How are we going to sneak into the North Sea Army Corps base to borrow an airplane? Tang Wulin shrugged. This may sound difficult, but not impossible. The most difficult will be how we are getting in. It's relatively easy once we've entered the base because regardless of any defense, it's always the toughest breaking in from the outside, but not when you're already inside. So how are we entering then? Shu Lixi asked curiously. Tang Wulin smiled. I finally understood something after yesterday's incident. That is to look for your senior when you're faced with difficulty. The War God Hall has our senior. So, I believe that there will also be a few in the North Sea Army Corps. Xu Xiaoyan smiled. Captain, have I ever told you that I like you when you're full of confidence? Yu Jingyu's face was filled with vigilance as he asked, you like him? Xu Xiaoyan spoke in frustration, admire. I like him as in the sense of admiration. Yu Jingyu smiled at once. I like him too. Captain, you're just like you were 4 years ago. We'll follow you anyhow. We'll do whatever it is that you said. Tang Wulin smiled. Make a bold hypothesis but a cautious argument. It shouldn't be much of a problem for us to find a senior in the North Sea Army Corps. Perhaps we can even actually borrow an airplane. Yi Xinglan spoke, so, how are we going to prove that we're from Shrek Academy? We didn't bring anything as the Academy basically sent us out with nothing to identify us. Tang Wulin spoke, that's not a difficult issue. Have you forgotten what it is that I do? I'll make a few inner court disciples badges. With the addition of our power skills, would that not be adequate proof? You've won. Yi Xinglan cracked into a rarely seen smile. The entire plan was figured out casually by Tang Wulin. However, the plan was being perfected during the discussion process when everyone voiced out their concerns. When they first began, Tang Wulin had considered if he should borrow by force, but then he suddenly realized he could get assistance and remembered the War God Hall's senior from yesterday. Shrek Academy had students all over the place that it made the academy very powerful. It appeared to be an impartial academy, but it had tremendous influence over the Federation. The students who graduated from Shrek, especially Shrek's inner court, were all privileged people and had a strong sense of loyalty to the academy. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.